privilege to be here today. I'm super excited to share some repricing tips.
Can you tell us a little bit more about BQool?
BQool has been around since 2011, and we want to make people's life easier, so we have an easier to use solution so people can streamline their daily business operations. One of the questions we get asked a lot is like, how come I can't get the buy box? Well, because you're a non-featured seller, because you haven't sold enough. So you're still new, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you sell a few items, then you might be able to get the buy box after a while.
Miles, when you started selling, did you very quickly invest in a repricing tool?
Yeah, and actually immediately, because I kind of knew it was necessary and people were always talking about it.
Hey, all you SaaS users and interested parties out there, it's Alison and Miles, and we are tag teaming today because we've got an amazing guest today. We know that a lot of you have a repricing tool already. Like Miles, when you started selling, did you very quickly invest in a repricing tool?
Yeah, and actually immediately, because I kind of knew it was necessary and people were always talking about it and everything. And we got we're sitting down with the guys who I personally use in my stuff. So these guys have made me a lot of money, and we're going to show you guys how it could potentially make you guys a lot of money as well.
Exactly. Let's welcome Samuel from BQool. Hey, Samuel, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Alison. Hi, Miles. What a privilege to be here today. I'm super excited to share some repricing tips. And also, I'm excited about the integration of SellerAmp users and also for BQool that will really help save people time.
Yes, absolutely. Samuel, before we get started, can you tell us a little bit more about BQool for those who might not be so familiar with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So for someone who's not familiar with BQool, BQool has been around since 2011. And the name BQool actually stands for Business Cool Solutions. So we want to make it easier for sellers. It's founded by Amazon sellers for Amazon sellers. And we want to make people's life easier. So we have an easier to use solution so people can streamline their daily business operations. We've been in business since 2011, and we're also in the Amazon Development Marketplace Council. So we have over 100,000 sellers who've used BQool, and we've repriced up more than $1 billion so far. And we also collect billions of data points using AI, and we're active in over 50 different countries.
Wow. I mean, the philosophies alone between SellerAmp and BQool sound very familiar. You know, sellers trying to make other sellers' lives easier, right? Trying to get to that profit and that ROI faster. That's what we're all trying to help everybody do, aren't we?
That's right. That's right. I think people are wondering, why is a repricer important? And then where are we in this ecosystem when you're trying to sell a product? So you do normally, if you're sourcing, you'll need an app like SellerAmp, which will save you a lot of time to find the products. And then you might use an inventory software, or you might list into Amazon. And then once it's in Amazon, then you use a repricer. And let me show you why. So I'm just going to share my screen right now and just go to the Amazon page. If you guys could see my screen, and then here I have a pair of shoes. Yeah, so my pair of shoes here, this is an Air Jordan 9 Retro. This is a brand new pair of these. And these are actually a bit expensive here, I've seen on Amazon. And I got these for a great deal. And then so when I go into the page here, this is the one that is very similar to it. So I'm going to click on here. They're selling for $485, and there's different colors. The one that I have here, it's about the same as this one. And when you go down here, you're going to see that I'm going to select the size first. And of course, you know, Miles, you're more of an expert here. But you see that earlier I saw there was a 10.5, but now there isn't. Yeah, so there's only a size 16, and there's probably not a lot of pairs of this because size 16 is quite large here. So you can see that there isn't a buy box for this. I'm going to check another product here. Let's say a size 7, and there's a buy box here. And then when you go down here, you can see that, oh, there's no other sellers on here. There's only one seller. So this shoe is more of a collectible item. So there's a lot of different offers on different products and popular products. So let me go to a more popular product here, and I'm just going to type Nike Air Max shoes. I have a pair right here of Air Max shoes that I have. And then right here, you know, I'm going to find a more popular one, such as these Nike. These pair are a lot more popular. And then I'm going to select a very common size here, size 10. And then you can see that there's going to be a lot of offers on here. You know, there's more than 100 offers. And then if I was using SellerAmp in this example, you know, I would open it up, and then I could see, you know, what's my max cost I should get these for, and also the estimated sales, as well as the bestseller rank here. And there's so many much more. So I'm not going to talk about SellerAmp because that's your business here. But basically, When I'm sourcing the product, I see that I could sell this for $44 here. And then I could buy it for $44. That's the most I should buy at a 25% ROI. And then I can see there's over 100 different sellers. So I'm really trying to get into this buy box here because whoever owns the buy box is going to get 80 to 85% of the sales. And if I'm using my mobile phone, it's probably going to be even higher because, it's more prevalent on there. So the reason we want to use a repricer is we're trying to get you the buy box in this case. And there's also other reasons as well. And some of the other reasons is, you want to increase your sales, you want to increase your profits, and you also want to save you time because you want to be spending time, talking to wholesalers like what Miles do rather than repricing because a lot of this stuff could be automated because you're doing the same thing over and over again.
You, very similar to us, want to help them understand if it's worth their time and how they're going to be successful in selling that product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's different types of repricing as well.
There's so many, I get bombarded with ads. Yeah, tell me, guide us into what we need to be looking for when we're looking at repricers. What kind of philosophies there are out there?
So when you're looking at repricers, there's several types of repricers. Let me show you because I can keep talking about it or I could just show you doing a demo here, just going right into the software here. When I start repricing, just let's say for the Nike product here, I'm using a test account. So, this is a test information. So for that Nike product, for this shoes here that I was looking up, let's say I open up the SellerAmp here and I know that, the price here, I can look at the Keep It chart as well. So I can look at the last, 90 days and see what the buy box price is. But basically, if I do a quick look here, I can see that I could probably put a min price and a max price. I probably would put a min price maybe since I got it for $40, $50, let's assume. I could either use ROI or I could just put a min price based on what the buy box price is, or I could also set a max price. So when I'm in my repricer and I've listed this product on Amazon, and let's say I listed on Amazon for $89.99, like for this pair of Nike shoes. And then for my min price here, then I can actually set maybe, my product cost was $45. And then I could set it maybe at 35%, maybe 45%. And then I want to ask Miles, how do you set your ROI when you're getting a wholesale item? Let's see, a pair of shoes like these.
Yeah, so it kind of basically there's like two classifications of items that I would be going after. Something that I want to buy more quantity of, like we call it like replenishable, essentially, or something that I'm probably not going to be able to get more of. Maybe it was bought in like a liquidation or like a big sale or something like that. So typically, if it's going to be something I'm going to want to buy more of over time, I'll set my minimum based on kind of similar to where in the buy box statistics a lot of the buy box share is going, those average prices around that. And then something where I'm not going to buy more of, it's more so around a more aggressive minimum because I'm not interested in how that performs long term as much. So I might go based on ROI or something like that. But I prefer more so just getting really detailed on the min and max based around how much of that I'm going to buy over time in respect to getting as much buy box share compared to other people, essentially on that list.
Okay. Thanks, Miles. Yeah. So we'll take Miles' suggestions as a large seller here. And then in this example, then our min price, we saw that on the buy box, it was selling for up to $109 and then as low as 70 something dollars. Yeah. So we're going to just put maybe $79 here. This is just for our example. And then again, the product cost was around $45. We made that assumption. And then for our max price here, we put it at the higher end of the buy box. So it's around 115, which is quite aggressively priced already, I would say, for this item. And then we'll put it on, let's say, the AI equalizer, which gives you an equal amount of sales and profits. And then we start repricing. And then we just have to turn it on and then it'll start repricing for you. So that's a very, very quick way. And then what we want to discuss today is about the rule part. So this is just showing you, when the listing is pulled in from Amazon, and then we're going to go to the repricing rules part. And then in the repricing rules, I was talking to Alison about there's different types of rules. So you have your rule-based rules, you have your AI-powered, and then you also have the new conditional repricing based on the market conditions as well. So I'm just going to share a little bit about the rule base, and I'm going to share some of the settings that our large customers like to use, just for the audience. And then basically the rule base, this is something that's been around for a long time. Yeah. And then how we're different than other repricers is we also have the AI powered and we also now have the conditional repricing. and we're at a very affordable price. So who is the repricing rule base for? Who is this for, right? So these are for maybe you don't have a large money to spend. So it starts out at $25. And then also for maybe some advanced seller who you really know that ASIN really well. So I know some large sellers, they use mostly match buy box when they're setting their rules. And then because they don't want to get the lowest price, they know that ASIN really well. So that's what they use. So I'm just going to give a quick example here. So we're going to go to match buy box, and I'm just going to call this like maybe the SellerAmp example here. Then I'm going to go next. I'm just going to show how do I set a rule base just to show everybody how it works. And then once I've done that, I've selected there's 5 rules, there's 5 default rules, and I'm using the match buy box rule right now. Then I'm coming down here and I can select who my competitors are. Now, one of the questions we get asked a lot is like, how come I can't get the buy box? Well, because you're a non-featured seller, because you haven't sold enough. So you're still new, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you sell a few items, then you might be able to get the buy box after a while, usually after a month. So these are non-featured sellers. And I'm making the assumption here that you're an FBA seller if you're watching this. And then so we're going to ignore these non-featured sellers. Mostly we're competing against FBA and Amazon. So I'm going to select that here. And then there's also SFP. This is seller fulfilled prime. These are merchant fulfilled sellers who act similar as FBA because they have very fast shipment times. So for our example, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but for our rule base, how we're different than other rule base is you could also exclude certain sellers. So not all the rule base can do that. So why would I do this? Let's say, for example, Miles and Warner and your friends, you guys decide to go get, you pool your money together, right? And then you get some sales from a wholesale account. Like you guys are in a mastermind group. Maybe you're in a special buying group. And so you want to exclude certain sellers. Like, for example, you don't want to compete with each other. You want to keep the price high. Then you might add a certain seller ID. Then also, let's say you're competing, you don't want to compete against Amazon. You could actually add Amazon here and you can exclude them as well. And then for the smaller sellers, you don't want to compete against Miles. Yeah, so he's willing to move the turnover at 20, 25% ROI. Like he's okay with that. But as a small seller, I don't want to do that, right? And so I might exclude certain large sellers that I know that, they're wholesalers. That's what they're doing. And then I also might exclude people with low ratings. Like, maybe they have lower than a 0, so they're pretty new. Exclude sellers with, lower than 80% feedback.
Yeah.
I could also exclude sellers with handling time more than a certain amount of time. So you could also set these settings here. And I'm going to go to next. So this is what happens when you're trying to get the buy box. And then so if you're trying to do match buy box, the first part is buy box winner found between the min price and the max price. So this is between your mins and your max. And then here we're going to go press 0 because we're trying to match people. So we put 0 here. This situation is a double buy box when there's 2 buy box. And this is rare, but it does happen. Usually Amazon may award somebody a FBM and also a FBA seller because FBM might have a much lower price. And so they actually have 2 buy box. So we could also do settings for that, but typically we would compete against the one with the lower price. So we're designing the repricer where we're competing against the one with the lower price. Now this section here is when the buy box winner is found outside your mins and max. So you can decide what happens here. In our case, again, we are trying to match buy box, so we have 0.00. And then this setting is when the buy box winner is not found. So when the buy box is suppressed, there isn't anyone who owns a buy box, what happens? You can set it to your max price, you could not reprice. And for example, we just do not reprice. Then there's also when competitors are not found. Let's say you're the only seller on here. Then you can go to use your max price or you can use a specific customized price. And then when buy box winners are excluded by our settings. So earlier we set the settings earlier to exclude certain type of sellers. We can decide how we actually behave against those sellers. And then this is a price change safety net. So it kind of acts like a safeguard. So let's say in the United States, when you're like doing stocks, right? Let's say you get a stock, it go $100, it go down to $10 in one day like that. But in other countries where they want to protect the stock market and control it as well, you can only go down by 10% per day. Yeah, and then so this is what that does. You can set a safety net like to change the price by a certain amount. And when you keep going down here, this is another protection setting. When adjusted price equals or below min price, then you could use the min price. Then coming down here, here's some advanced setting. I'm going to consult with Miles here. Like usually, Miles, like if you're an FBA seller and you're competing against Amazon, like what would you do? Like what kind of settings do you do?
Yeah, so I try to really, and this is something a lot of people would disagree with, so I rarely compete with Amazon in that case, but yeah, it'd be kind of dependent on how the buy box share is going, but oftentimes it would probably be matching them, or obviously trying to be lower depending on profitability, just because they would naturally get a lot of the buy box share, but it's tough without being able to undercut them at a very profitable price on stuff. But yeah, either match depending on where the other buy box share is going, or hopefully undercut depending on the profitability. But obviously, in a perfect world, you would not sell something and then Amazon get on it, but it occasionally happens on stuff. And in that case, it's probably going to end up being a liquidation type item.
So, like what Miles say, if you use SellerAmp, you could actually see who is on Amazon and who is not. So that's another great feature that you could see. And of course, you also look at the Keepa chart to see how long Amazon has been on that when it goes on that listing as well. So here, based on what Miles said, you could either price match here with Amazon, or what a lot of sellers like to do when they're competing against Amazon is they do about 3%, lower by 3%. And then this is for items that are around $25 to $40, just to give people a scope. Yeah, because it might be different, also depending on the demand for the product as well. And then moving down here, you could also decide how you behave against other FBA sellers. And then for FBA versus FBM, and typically we see a lot of people, they actually have a higher price than people who are, if they're FBA competing against FBM, because they're more likely to get the buy box. So we've seen that. We usually see about 10 cents for items about $25 to $40 as well. But it could be different for every product. It really depends, right? Like if you have a product that is $70 or $80, then that number might be different. Then this is where you could do some advanced setting. Then you could go to next here. And then the next one is what happens when you are in the buy box. So one of the settings that people like to do for match buy box, they like to do this. They like to do 0.00 and then 0.00. So for this setting, this is what happens. Like when somebody lowers their min price, then you match their min price. When somebody increases their max price, when the buy box winner goes to somebody else, then you match their price. So we see a lot of people who use match buy box use 0.00 and then 0.00. This is one of the settings that we see. Again, there's another price change safety net that you could set here. And then you could do a scheduler. And then for the scheduler here, I'm asking, Miles, do you use a scheduler yourself, or what's your take on this? Because everybody has different perspective.
Yeah, so I've never gotten too deep into that side of things. I'm actually learning some stuff as you're going here as well, which is great, great in terms of just opening up other sides stuff I probably should be implementing and everything. But yeah, no, I haven't instituted that and everything. I've just been pretty set with the AI stuff I've had relatively since the beginning, kind of going back between some of the modes.
I've definitely heard from people who have said, I have a competitor and every 2 weeks he liquidates this or that, or I know people get concerned about how that's going to impact their repricing. So this is fantastic that you can utilize this schedule feature.
Yeah. So what some of our sellers, especially the large ones, like it really depends. And I think it depends. So what they like to do is they like to pause their repricing. And usually they pause it between like 1 to 3 a.m. with the low traffic hours. And then the logic behind this, they're trying to reshuffle the price. So what they do is they'll change the price to the max price. And if there's several other repricers on the listing, then they will actually follow the price up a little bit. And then once the time hits, they go back into their repricing rule again. And so they might go for the buy box again. And then ideally, you get the buy box at a higher price. So it's good to use with the AI, especially because then the AI will just go right in and get the buy box. And then theoretically, you can get a little bit higher price than if you didn't do the scheduling as well. Now, this usually works if there's maybe less than 10 offers. If there's more than 10 offers, then somebody's going to take the price. Yeah, unfortunately. Let's say you raise your price, boom, somebody's taking your buy box, like right away, right? So it depends, right? It really depends on the listing. But this is the reason people use a scheduler, and they call it the oscillation strategy. This is what they do for repricing. And then you set up the rule, and then you save and finish, and then you can go back into that listing, and you could actually apply the rule by selecting it here, or you could use bulk actions and apply it by bulk. So this is for rule base. What I just showed you guys here, this has been around for a long time. But Miles, like what kind of repricing rule do you use?
Yeah, AI. So the AI powered getting into all that kind of stuff. I'm a huge fan. I've been using that for it'll be 18 months next month on that, just straight on everything. So I'm a big fan of that, and we have hundreds of students who are also big fans of that as well. And I'm sure lots of SellerAmp users who would agree with me watching this that'll be either have already or looking to get into. I'm a big fan of the AI powered side of it.
And you're absolutely right. So if we look at the presentation here, you have your AI and also the rule base. And the AI, it's a lot smarter, a lot more intelligent. And I'll explain to you like how does it work. So there's actually 5 different AI rules. And then you can set it from most aggressive to less aggressive. And typically, let's say for the AI sales maximizer, you're going to be focusing more on your sales. So it's going to move you closer to your min prices. But that's what it's supposed to do. And then this is used more for liquidation if you're really trying to push some products. And then for the AI profit maximizer, this would be something that you use if you're trying to increase your profit. If you don't have a lot of it, you only have like one item, like you only got a clearance item, you won't be able to get that product again. Now, for items that you could easily replenish, you might start out at the AI equalizer, and then you could, depending on that specific ASIN, the listing, whether to make it more aggressive or less aggressive. And you could also look at the competitor analysis as well. And let me just explain, how does our AI exactly work? Because people throw around this word AI a lot. AI this, AI that. It's like a marketing buzzword, right? Like, what does it really mean?
Scary term.
Exactly. And then so I'll just do an example for you guys here. And then let's say we're on the Amazon page here. And then I am looking, let's say, for the iPhone. And then you can see all of these items that pop up. So Amazon has looked through all the searches based on data. People will be searching for this. So they're looking at the entire Amazon and they're suggesting what you should type in. And then now if I type, let's say, iPhone 13 Pro Max, then after I've done that search, the next time I search is going to think that I've done the search before, and it's going to send me the products that I might be interested in. Yeah, so that is kind of like just quickly explaining how AI works. And then when you look at the BQool model, we kind of work around similar model. We have a centralized model. And then in the centralized model, we take multiple different factors. There's about 20 different variables when you're trying to get the buy box. I believe we've cracked the code, and we'll continue to do more research. But basically, the 3 most important factors out of those 20 is what type of fulfillment type are you? Are you FBA or FBM? And then also, where are you shipping the product from? Because Amazon's warehouse logistic fee is going to be less. So they're going to reward you if it's close to them. And then the third one is the price. So those 3 are the most important factors that we found. We have a centralized model, which we look at the entire Amazon and look at all historic data as well from our 10 years of experience. And then there's an account base. So for the account base, this is on a specific ASIN. When you have new competitors come in, it starts to learn how they behave. It's going to either increase your price a little bit or decrease your price. It has a price prediction, or keep it around the same to get the buy box. Once it gets the buy box, it starts to incrementally increase as well. Yeah, so that is how the AI works. You guys have any questions about that?
I don't think so. I've learned a lot though, just off the stuff we've been through this far, and probably will as I digest it more as well.
Oh, that's
I've
awesome.
got a question for you. Got one for you,
Yes.
Samuel. So, like I said, AI is kind of this big, new, scary term. Not scary, but it's out there, right? It's a popular term. For somebody who's just getting into repricing, is there any reason they shouldn't look at doing AI straight out of the gate?
I think it's probably the price. Because we give people the option for this AI repricer with 5 AI rules. Our competitors give you 1, we give you 5, and we give it at a very affordable price point at $50. Our nearest competitor will offer it for 10 times the price. Yeah, so that's how much they are offering it for. But we offer it for $50, and then you can start using it. And then at $100, you get about 1,000 ASINs. I think it definitely saves time. So I think if there's anything, it might be the reason that you wouldn't use it as a new seller. It could be the price hurdle. But then you get your 14-day free trial to try out the software, and then you could actually see the benefits. So we'll recommend somebody who has about 50 to 100 SKUs, or maybe they do about $4,000 to $5,000 per month. Then they'll be very suitable to do this. And then for the AI, you could see that it's a lot less settings. There's only 4 settings, and we would actually encourage the beginners to use this because they don't need to decide who their competitors are. They don't need to exclude certain sellers. And then they don't need to decide what happens once they get the buy box. The AI is very intelligent. It would incrementally reprice. All they have to do is just pick between the 5 different rules. And we have a free handout that we can give to all the SellerAmp customers as well, that you can download for free. And then it would show you what kind of stuff you should set on the different AI rules.
That's great. And Miles, actually, I'll turn to you because you said you've been using the AI for about 18 months. From your perspective, having switched over, what made you comfortable about rule-based and what made you kind of make the change?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I've been AI since the beginning. Like there was a lot of good word about BQool and just, and the nice part was, so I was already getting going pretty quick sales wise. Like I was probably doing within my first month of doing OA, like with my buddies I was getting going with, we were probably already at like $1,000 a day. So I was already at the revenue point where it made sense to go with the premium option. And then pretty much been, I switch between the different AI versions a lot though on different listings depending on how it's, so like that's where a lot of my expertise lies, I think, in terms of the repricing side of things, is changing back between different things based on essentially like the pulse of a listing in respect to the amount I have in stock and my plan to forecast forward.
And that's back to Samuel's point of you guys give them 5 different setups on the AI side. That's perfect. Yep. You've got that ability to flip back and forth, don't you? That's great.
And then moving forward, so just to let people know what the benefits are using AI, you can get more profits. There's machine learning. So the main difference between AI and algorithmic rule-based is there's machine learning. So we actually learn the listing. And then the way you can tell is when you go look at the price history. So in the price history, it would go up by different amounts, which means that it's not going always by the same amount. If you're using the algorithmic rule base, a lot of people use presets. It just goes up by the same amount over and over again, but that's not real AI. Like that is already been preset. But for the AI, it will go by different amounts depending on who the competitors are. So it's more intelligent. And then what I want to share with you, like building on what Miles said, I'm just going to show an example of how the AI works so that audience will learn how exactly it works. Here's an example here of a real customer. And then this customer, they're a FBA seller. You really have to go and squint your eyes. So for all the audience, move close into the screen and look at where the buy box is. So when you're in the screen, you're going to see for the buy box, the person who holds it is actually our seller, and he actually sources for $50. It's a textbook, and he's a 7-figure seller as well, and he's very experienced. So he got this for $50. It's selling at $197.49 right now. And then if you look below it, there's another FBA seller who actually has a better feedback and has a much more reviews than they do. And it's not easy to get reviews. He has 99%, 5,000 reviews. So he actually has like a better profile to Amazon, and his price is just 1 cent more. And then how did that work here? So let me just show you how the AI operates. There's also 2 other FBM sellers with lower price, but the AI has decided that we shouldn't sell at the lowest price. We should price higher than the FBM sellers. And then we should also price just 1 penny below the other guy, the other FBA seller who has a much better profile for me. So as a result, we won the buy box, and you can go into the price history to look how that works. So in the red part is when we don't have the buy box, and then so we're trying to get the buy box, so we actually lower the price. In the green part is when we have the buy box, and then we start increasing the price, incrementally going up until we get the buy box. And then as a result, he was able to sell this product. This product has a lot of sales per month. Maybe it only sells 5 or 6 per month. So it's really important to get into the buy box. Otherwise, it's going to be a while before you can sell off that product. So it's not in the bestseller rank within the 1 or 2%. Yeah, it's actually within the 5%. So this is an example. And then this seller, as a result, after they moved from rule-based to AI, they had about a 10% increase in the buy box. And as a result, they got a lot more sales. And there's a lot more customers like this. On average, we see about a 12 to 20% increase in the buy box after you switch from rule-based over to AI. Miles is here, right? He's the proof, right? Here, yeah. He's hitting like 3 million, right? Like he's growing, and I could just foresee in just probably real soon, a few years, he might become an 8-figure seller. It's possible, right?
Yeah, a good example of the up pricing via AI, specifically Sales Booster. There was an item like 2 weeks ago that it was lowest FBA 62, and I sold like in 2 hours like 25 of them at 76, and it 2x the profit per unit just off having proper repricing infrastructure.
Yeah, that's awesome, Miles. Yes, this is the proof right there. And then now, Miles mentioned that his expertise is switching between the different AI rules. Like he knows when he should decide to change to a different AI rule. So we had a lot of requests from advanced sellers, from Miles, from Warner. They want to switch the rules. So when certain conditions happen, they can actually switch to different rules. So we call it conditional repricing. And there's different scenarios to use for conditional repricing. And we have 5 different conditional repricing. And I just want to give you a quick comparison between like what was before the previous, the AI compared to conditional repricing. The main difference between conditional repricing and the current version is before you need to change the rules manually. So let's say you see a listing is not performing that well, maybe is selling not as many units as you want. You need to go into a listing, you have to manually change the rule to something else. That is what before. But now with the conditional repricing, you could actually switch the rule automatically. So before, like based on your analysis, let's say you check your Keepa chart or you use the SellerAmp and you know that this product, the sales rank is going down. And then there's a lot more offers coming up on this. So typically you might need to lower your price. You might need to do that manually in the past. But now with the conditional repricing, you could actually lower your price automatically when certain conditions are met. So maybe you were selling at 45% ROI, but now you can lower it to 35% after a certain amount of time. So this will help you sell more products out, give you a higher turnover, and you could even get higher buy box wins, and it's much more flexible than ever before. We can look at some examples here. And I want to ask Miles, when you're selling a product, what do you do when it doesn't sell?
Yeah, it would be auditing like how the competition and velocity has changed and then repricing it based on that, whether that is changing the mode, like the rule within like sales booster to equalizer, equalizer maximizer, profit booster, profit maxer, like that, or adjusting minimums, or most likely both typically on stuff. Because if it's been around for a while, I'm not super interested in it staying at that price because it's not where I want it to be on that. So yeah, naturally there'd be adjustments to either the velocity to which I'm repricing, the min max, or in many cases both.
Okay, so let's go into a live example so we could take a look at it to see how it worked for some different type of real life situations. So there's 5 different conditional rules. 3 of them, there's the inventory age condition, and this is based on the inventory age. So it might be a slow moving product, it might be a perishable item, it might be a topical product. So it's based on inventory age. And maybe let's say we're going into Q4, so the storage fees are increasing. So you might want to adjust your price based on because the storage fees are going to increase when we go into Q4. And then there's also a sell-through condition. This is more for private label, but it can also be used for arbitrage for fast-moving inventory. So you can go into your inventory health inside Amazon Seller Central to look at the sell-through rate between 0 to 7 based on fast-moving inventory. And then there's also days of supply, and this is for larger volume products and also for replens. Then there's 2 advanced conditions. This is for both FBA and also FBM sellers. Of course, if you're FBA, there's a lot more reports that we can pull based on the reports in Amazon. And so this is just very high level, just discussing, and then we'll talk about the real life situations here. And for the real life situations, this is a liquidation strategy. I'm going to share my screen here, just go into a software. And I want to ask Miles his opinion here. Like, when do you start liquidating products? Like, do you have that? Is that part of your strategy? Or when do you decide you want to sell off the product?
Yeah, so start thinking about it. Obviously, by obsessively refreshing the seller app, I have an idea of what's moving and what isn't. And it also depends on the quantity bought and stuff. But yeah, in the range of this is something I actually need to institute with some of the new stuff that's included. Yeah, 30 to 45 days of no sales or even a lack of sales in something that had done well, it's probably time to drop the price and get that capital back.
Okay, so using from Miles' experience here, I'm just going to select inventory age condition. Yeah, this is based on the inventory age, based on the days that you have in your inventory. And then I'm going to call this the Miles rule, just for example. And then after 31 and 61 days, there's 3 things you could do. You could change the AI rule. or to a rule base if that's what you like. And then instead of moving, maybe you move from AI equalizer, now you want to go to AI sales booster after 31 and 60 days if you're more aggressive in your sales. And then you could also change your min price. So maybe your min price, it was at, maybe you started out with 45%. Now you can lower it to 35% because you want to try to move the product faster. So that's one thing you could do. You could also go to your price. And then for the people who like to price match, you could go click on buy box price and minus or plus a certain number or a certain percentage as well. So in our example, you said that you might change the rule. You also might lower your min price. Then we will then change the min price here maybe to 35% and use the AI sales booster. And then when none of the above conditions are met, you can still keep it as whatever you had before. You can keep it at the AI equalizer or the existing rules you have. And then for between 0 and 30 days, maybe you wanted to do like AI equalizer, or maybe you wanted to do AI sales booster, 0 to 30 days. And here you can put it at like the AI sales maximizer to go super aggressive after 31 to 60 days. What are your thoughts, Alison? Like, what do you think? Do you think that might be able to help Miles, like to save some time?
It sounds like, based on what Miles says he wants to accomplish, that yeah, boom, he's there. It's got what he needs. He knows it's under control. He knows it's going to get liquidated. And I'm guessing, Miles, that you're happy that you don't have to go back and keep looking at it.
Yeah, agreed. Because that time can be better spent finding more inventory, definitely.
More inventory and more profitable products.
And more profitable products, exactly. And then so you can go to next here, and then you're done. Save and finish, and then you can apply the rule to that listing or use bulk setting to apply it to however many listings that you want, up to 500. So that is, just use an example of inventory age. And then I'm going to show you just one more example here for a product that, because we're going to Q4. What's your recommendation, like from both Alison and also from Miles? Like, what do you do with products that are going to Q4? This is kind of like the hot season. Yeah, this is the best time for repricing.
Yeah, so look at the historical maximums and minimums and adjust accordingly with a lot more upside in terms of whether it being going from maximizer to booster, sales booster to equalizer. Basically a little less aggressive and a little more upside from a profitability perspective, because the volume's going to naturally increase on stuff. So while the volume naturally increases, there's going to be a lack of competition, which then will let you inch up. And another example, speaking of that, right? So something that was similarly fairly seasonal to, in the way that there's a lot of stuff that's seasonal to Q4, seasonal to this time of year, with back to school. I was on something for like 85 to 90 since like April, and then I randomly got a sale for 157 the other night.
Wow.
And that's why I always tell people you got to set the maximum at like 99 if it's a $10 item, or 999 if it's like really anything else that's outside of like a 1,000+ item on that. But that was literally $60. That was half my subscription there, and there were other examples of that item like that in similar ranges right there.
It allows you to give yourself a chance to essentially make that money that you might not know is out there.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, that's the big thing, is having the infrastructure in place to take advantage of that upside. And that comes really in handy on stuff where there's a lack of competition and therefore a lot higher price elasticity, depending on, buy box and inventory being available in different areas of the country and stuff.
You said it was back to school and a lot of kids are back, but there's still some people who haven't gone back. So somebody's still out there looking for.
Yeah, it's the colleges. It's all the colleges now. It's all the MF orders going to colleges.
Yeah, I heard something really interesting the other day. They said, like, because typically I thought like for seasonal products, let's say like, for example, Christmas. And then once you pass December, then maybe the price might go down a little bit because people are trying to sell off the product. And they said that specifically for Christmas, you still get sales in January because like some people, like, maybe they're divorced. Maybe they had to spend time with different families. So then they would go and give the gift to somebody else. So you still get some sale from that Christmas. Or people look at the Christmas products and they're like, oh, that's a really interesting product. I wish I had that for next Christmas. And then they actually get some product. So it goes 1 month out for some seasonal item. That was something new. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, well, and people get gift cards for Christmas too. So I think that's a big part of it.
They get gift cards and they also don't get what they wanted for Christmas. So they're going to go buy it anyway.
So they return the product, right? So there's also like a bunch of refunds right after Christmas and also in Prime Day as well. Yeah.
Go buy something else. Yeah.
So another thing that, I wanted to mention, like this is for Q4, is, you might have some item that is selling out quickly. And then typically, like I've asked Warner this question before, and then I ask like, what do you do if a product is going to sell out? And he's like, well, I'm just going to get more of it, right? That's like, just get a bunch more stock. And then typically, like for the larger sellers, they don't want to spend time changing the rule if it's already doing well.
I agree.
Like you just leave it, right? Leave it as it is. What's working? Why break it, right? But imagine this as a large seller. Let's say you do about 2,000-3,000 orders a month. What if you get an extra $1 for every one of those orders, right? That's another $3,000 bucks, right? You guys are business people. Why not, right? Like there's free money out there to get back. There's so much money for you to earn out there. All you have to do is to use SellerAmp and source the right products, and then you could use BQool and reprice and sell it out. So
absolutely.
For some people who have products that are selling out, there's also some settings that you could use using the conditional repricing. And I'm just going to quickly just demo that. So going back into the conditional repricing here, I'm just going to use a new conditional repricing. And then we could do that in the advanced setting. In the conditional repricing, there's the FBA advanced conditions you can pick. And let's call it the max profits for Q4 rule. And then in here, I'm setting this. There's a lot of different settings. I'm just going to remove this so it's easy. And when you click on the when, there's actually 18 different conditions you can pick. So it looks complicated, but it's really not, because it's divided by 3 different types. There's the inventory type, which we quickly demoed. So estimated excess. And this is like related to if you have a product over 365 days and you're getting long-term storage costs. And then there's also the days of supply and the units sold. So this is more related to the available quantity and also the products that you sell. And then this one is related, these ones, buy box wins, these are all related to kind of pricing and also to your buy box wins. So one example, and there's so many different variations that you can choose, right? And that's where it comes in place. And then using that example, let's say for Q4, I could go to available quantity here and I go save. And then let's say my available quantity, let's say I got 100 items. Like, so after a test buy, I decided to get 100 of them from wholesale. And then if I have less than 25, then I can make it into a more profitable rule. I could put it to like the profit booster or profit maximizer. I could also increase my min price. So originally, maybe I had a 35, 40% ROI. Now I want 45. I'm getting more greedy. I want 45% now, because I'm trying to slow down my sales while I go replenish the product. That's kind of what we're trying to do here. And then I can add a subcondition here. The units sold the last 7 days. So typically, let's say I sell 100 a month, and then I divide that by 4, so I sell about 25. Then we can actually know that I can pick up to, let's say, 30 days here. So within the 30 days, let's say I'm selling greater than 25 per month. So I have the subcondition. So if I'm not getting that much sales, I'm sticking with my original AI rule. Maybe I had it at AI equalizer. But if I'm getting more sales than I expected, then I can increase my price, and then I can replenish the product while I do that. Yeah, so this is just an example. There's so many more, and I'll love to go through and show you exactly how you can set it up the way that you want it. There's so many different combinations. There's also people who like to go by buy box win percentage. Like if they win over 30%, then they're going to increase the price. There's so many different combinations that you can do. And we have, different videos about it on our YouTube channel as well for all the different audiences to teach them. Yeah, so this is for Q4.
That's amazing. I mean, the different types of repricing that's available. I always like to speak to the new people that might not even know about repricing, and they might be a little intimidated by it because they feel like you're giving away profits. But in reality, as I think obviously Samuel will attest, they wouldn't be creating this product if it didn't work. And as Miles will attest, it does work. It does help you preserve the profit. You just have to know what you're trying to accomplish, don't you?
So yeah, we have a very special promo for our SellerAmp
We do.
community in the audience. And Miles doesn't even have this promo.
I don't. Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair. Yeah, they might contact us after. I don't know. I don't know if I should do this. We're giving 20% off for the $100 monthly plan for existing SellerAmp subscribers. So you have to be an existing SellerAmp subscriber to get this special deal. And there's a 14-day free trial on top of that, right? So if you want it, you can use Miles' link and you get 30 days. And then you can get the 20% off on top of that, right? So but you must be a SellerAmp subscriber, right? That's the key thing. And then we'll also invite you to an exclusive onboarding webinar. So we have onboarding webinars every week to teach you step by step how to get the most from the software. So you can quickly see that result. So you could get that extra $60. You get your money back as soon as you can. And then we also have live chat support, and we just updated our support site. And of course, you could also join Miles and Warner's Discord group. There's so many great questions. There's a lot of discussion in there as well. And so that's a very special promo that we want to offer to SellerAmp because we believe that SellerAmp 1 + 1 is equal to 3. Yeah, it'll be greater than if you just use the software by itself. Yeah, so check out in the description below.
You said it perfectly, Samuel. SellerAmp is there at the start of the process when you're finding the product, when you're trying to understand what's possible from a profit perspective. And then once you buy the product, BQool is there to help you manage how you're going to get that profit out of that product. And together it makes such a good combination that really does help us all get the profit that we think that we're going to see when we first analyze that product. And then, of course, going back to those products after you've had them in your inventory a while, you're going to go back to SellerAmp and reanalyze things because obviously the landscape changes, doesn't it? So kind of a cycle that keeps happening. The two really work fluidly to help you achieve those profit and ROI goals that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something else. Yeah, for all the people who stay till the very end, we have a very special giveaway only for the SellerAmp community. We're going to give out not the $25, not the $50, but the $100 annual plan, which is worth face value $1,200 and $1,080. So we're going to give 1 full year of BQool AI conditional repricer to one customer from SellerAmp. So you must be a SellerAmp customer.
Yes, Miles, you have to be a SellerAmp subscriber. Miles, you can't win.
You can't be a new BQool customer. Yeah, so sorry, Miles, you can't.
Yeah.
That is awesome, Samuel. 1 free year. Oh my gosh, over $1,000.
1 free year, right? And then, but you got to do something, right? Nothing is free in life. You need to comment why you should use BQool or in SellerAmp, and then put it in the comments below. And then we'll pick someone, and SellerAmp will pick somebody who is qualified. Really appreciate the opportunity to join the SellerAmp channel today.
Yep, thank you.
We appreciate having you here, Samuel. Like he said, go ahead and drop your comments in. Think about how the tools work together. What are those things as you're sourcing that you wish you could understand about the repricer, and vice versa? When you're repricing, what are things you want to know about your sourcing? Give us those ideas of how these two tools work together, and one of you is going to be a lucky winner of a year of BQool service. So thank you, Samuel. We appreciate that you're here today.